Right. Again, thanks so much for joining us this evening, guys. It's been a real pleasure speaking to each and every one of you over the last couple of days. Really getting to know each and every one of you, your family dynamic, what it is that you're looking to achieve as a family or as a single applicant for those that are single, and ready to go through this particular process and really wanting to understand what is expected from your end, what's going to happen in the back end of New World Immigration, and what you're going to be exposed to throughout this journey. So before we get started on the webinar, there's a couple of fun facts, between the two countries that we predominantly focus on, which is, of course, Australia as well as Canada. If you had to visit one beach in Australia every day, it would take you over 27 years to see them all. So quite a large country. So some really, really interesting facts there. Of course, if in fact you'd like to read a little bit more about these particular facts, they are available from your consultant and more if need be. So please feel free to just ask. All right, so starting off with tonight's webinar, of course, again, each and every one of you have been in contact with your respective consultants. Of course, starting with Amy, Jamal, Leo, Mark, Matthew, Robbie, and myself. Of course, we make up the consultancy department to essentially qualify you as an applicant. And I'm going to allow Amy just to have a bit of an opportunity to discuss our role as well as how we would fit into this particular process throughout this journey. Amy, I hand the mic over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, but most of you have seen my face, or you've seen, Leo, Jamal, Mark, Matt, Robbie, or Sean. We are currently your consultants. Any questions, queries about the process that you're not sure about, get you comfortable, you come on board with us, okay? Then once you've paid the first service fee and you get passed over to a case manager, you don't lose contact with us. We keep in contact with you every step of the way. You will be down to work with your case manager though, and it's the hard work, lots of paperwork, but they make it easy for you. But yeah, we'll keep in contact with you. We'll become your account executive, part of your team. And eventually you'll get tired of us. Well, I know my clients get tired of me, but I know your birthdays, so I'll keep you in contact. But that's it.
It's impossible to get tired of you, Amy.
Yeah, I know, 100%.
Thank you.
So Amy's actually based in Durban. So for any of you that will be attending this evening, Amy is, of course, we do have physical presence in Durban. Where exactly in Durban are you based, Amy? You don't have to give your physical address and exactly where you are right now, but where?
I explore quite a bit, but I'm in Durban North. I've done a bit of traveling up to Ballito, Salt Rock. I'm not ready to go as far as Pietermaritzburg. But yeah, if you're around, we can meet up, have a coffee, chat about your immigration process.
Perfect. All right, so tonight's journey, we will be starting off with one of the most important aspects of immigration, of course, would be the registration, the real nitty and gritty of immigration, right? When starting this particular process, whether it may be Canada, whether it may be Australia, who are you dealing with? Are these individuals registered? And of course, going through a stage-by-stage process. As you've noticed within the breakdown each of your consultants have sent you, you'll notice that it is a phased approach that we take. We'll also be going through to meet our Canadian department. So those of you that are heading over to Canada, you'd be able to take a look at who's part or who forms part of that team. And then, of course, taking a look at our Australian department. One of the most beneficial features that we have available to our clients is our client portal, a massive area that we put a lot of focus on, which, of course, we'll get to. We'll also be covering areas such as occupation in demand, as well as average salaries abroad. Kyle would also be chatting about our recruitment division, and then, of course, taking a look at the importance of phase one and what particular steps we're going to be able to do and take from here on forward. All right, so every now and again, we get asked the question, is New World Immigration registered? Are we able to legally assist families by going through this process? And the short answer is yes. It is mandatory that any firm that you're going to be dealing with, right, whether it may be Canada, whether it's Australia, they would need to be registered through a regulatory board in that respective country. So we are registered and have active registration through the Canadian Regulatory Council. Of course, MARA registered, which is Australia. Our head case manager in our Australian department, Jonathan Pretorius, he's actually been issued with an offshore agent's ID number. Patrick Gaffney, our registered US attorney, and then our COO, which is Shelley Fall. She's actually a former senior case officer that previously worked for the Australian High Commission in Pretoria, and Robbie actually headhunted her when they started New World way back then. So it's a real pleasure having these individuals part of our team. So as I mentioned earlier on, we take a very much a phased approach to this. From a cost perspective, it is also a phased approach where it allows you to manage your cash flow a lot better. It allows you to manage your time a lot easier. So once you've left an inquiry with us, which each and every one of you have, your consultants, whether it may be myself, Leo, Robbie, Amy, etc., we would have gotten in contact with either you or your partner or spouse, and we would have run through an assessment to determine your eligibility, of course, to determine whether or not you're able to qualify for either Canada or Australia. Once we've established that, we've, of course, sent you a very formal breakdown, which included a quote and a breakdown of all the financials that are involved throughout this process. And this is where we are right now, or where each and every one of you are at this point. Once we've brought you on board, once we've received your paperwork, which includes your CV, qualification certificates, and payment confirmation towards phase one, we would move over and assign you to a case manager. And at that point, the respective case department would then start collecting and receiving all of your documents throughout the process, and of course, submit the application to either Canada or Australia for phase one and phase two. And the final, very final step is your visa grant notice, which is the approval. So that is the process in a nutshell. So those families that have qualified and immigrating to Canada, this is our Canadian department. Colleen is our head case manager within our Canadian department, and then Fazia San to her right of the screen is our registered immigration agent. And then, of course, you'll have your respective case manager assigned to your profile. So you'll have your own personal case manager who's going to be dealing with you on a regular basis, on a day-to-day, throughout the process via the portal. Those of you that have qualified and immigrating to Australia, we have, of course, Jonathan Pretorius, as I mentioned earlier on, and Sandra Karim, our registered MARA agent, Australian agent, and then, of course, our team of case managers who would be dedicated to your profile, very much like the Canadian case managers, but, of course, respective to Australia. So you'll have your dedicated case manager, including ourselves, as how Amy had explained earlier on, and then, of course, the registered agents and our head case manager of that department. So there'll always be a team of 4 assigned to your profile. All righto. So I'd like to cover one of the major points of immigration, dealing with the paperwork. Where do we collect this information? Where does it come from? How do I get in contact with my consultants or my case manager, etc., etc. This will all take place via an online portal that each of you have received a username and password to already. Jamal, are you there? Is Jamal with us this evening?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, loud and clear,
Awesome.
loud and clear. Jamal, I would like to please give you the opportunity of running through the portal with us. It's a really interesting and exciting point as to where a client happens to go on to. So I hand the mic over to you, and there you are.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jamal Vanza. Those of you I've been in contact with, we've most probably went through this process as well. I just want to talk about a little bit of the portal. So this is going to be your everyday tool. So what the portal actually does is that you're able to keep track of the application from anywhere you will be. I had a client today who came to the office. His most concern was he's originally from DRC. I'm also from DRC, by the way. He's originally from DRC. He's studying in South Africa. He's in and out of the country most time. So how is it going to be possible for him to submit documents to us from time to time? And I said, hey, guess what? We've actually got a client portal that you can make use of anywhere in the world. So whether you're in the flight, whether wherever you can be, you have the client portal. So the most important thing I like to emphasize about is when clients comes on board. When a client would come on board, or when you would come on board, we will give you a full access of the client portal, which will have these lovely details, your profile, your visa documents, important information, your pay scale, as well as the country info, where you can be able to find the ebook. So it explains basically the country that you're going through. On the immigration point, it explains to you the most important things, maybe way to get your driver's license, etc., things like that. And when it comes to the documents, when your case manager and yourself, when you upload your documents on the client portal, so this is how it's going to look. When you upload the documents on the client portal, your case manager would get a notification, which will say, example, Sam, I believe Sam is here tonight. Sam and I have actually been talking through LinkedIn. Thank you for being here, by the way, Sam. So Sam would upload documents on the portal. And for example, Sybil is the case manager. Sybil will get a notification stating that Sam has uploaded, example, the qualification on the portal. And then we'll need to review it on our end and then approve it. So once we have approved it, and we can just go a little bit back and see how it looks. There you go. So once it has been approved, you will see reviewed and finalized. So that means that will automatically upload and say that how many documents you have submitted and we have approved already from our end. So it's very important that you make use of the portal from time to time, even if it's not to submit something. Maybe you want to keep track of a reminder. Maybe you've got your IELTS test coming up. Maybe you have some payment that you need to make through the World Education Service. You can actually use the calendar to actually put the note there. And what we will do as well is we will actually remind you based on the calendar and be able to tell you what exactly, oh, hey, maybe tomorrow you've got your IELTS test, all the best, etc. And we've got a lot of information from the third-party process, maybe when it comes to the assessing authority, for those of you who are going to Australia, maybe the trades guys, maybe the teachers, etc. We've got a lot of information and how to go about it on the third-party process. And the most important part, it's also when it comes to, maybe you want to know how much you're able to earn abroad. You can go to PayScale and put your information, and that will be able to tell you also how much exactly, roughly how much exactly you're able to earn abroad. That can be on a monthly basis, that can be on a yearly basis as well. And when you want to keep track of your account and the payments that you have due, etc., you can simply click on account and payment. and you can also be able to track that. And a lot of people actually ask me, Jamal, why should we make use of your service? And why are we paying this amount, ABC? Then I always tell them, look, instead of me telling it to you in black and white, why don't you firstly go through the terms and condition, understand if this is something that you want to sign up with. You know, I've got Sam here who is a lawyer, and I'm sure he would sit on that terms and condition and make sure that he understands exactly, you know. So it's not something that we're rushing you to actually agree to the terms and condition. We give you time before you even make payment, before you do anything. Go through the terms and condition and see if this is something, an agreement that you would like to go through, you would like to actually agree to. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's actually what your client portal would be able to assist you with. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamal. I appreciate that.
Sean, do you mind if I add something there?
You please do.
Thanks. Hi guys, my name's Robbie. I'm the director of New World Immigration, and I'm so thankful to have such an incredible team that are so independent and just great. So I wanted to just touch on the reasons why we designed the portal and why we introduced it. So I worked for 2 immigration companies prior to this. I worked in various positions. I was a case manager, then I was a consultant, and these companies, they didn't have a centralized system whereby one could engage with the company or engage with the client, a centralized space where everything was housed. And it just made for dealing with that particular client very difficult. There was no extra features. There was no place to review documents. There was no place to see if the document that you submitted is good enough. There's no place to converse with your case manager. So we decided, let's do it. We're going to design this portal. This is an ever-changing piece of software that we're very proud of. And it's continuously developing. We actually had a meeting today with our recruitment division. Kyle heads up that division, and he'll say some words later. And we're going to be introducing a super exciting feature on this portal, which has been literally 2.5 years in the making. It's a recruitment tab. It's going to go live probably in a week or so. And you will be able to, I'm not going to go into too much. Kyle, no, Kyle is like, hey, I want to talk about that. But we're very excited about it. And you'll be able to understand what possibilities there are abroad in terms of recruitment as well. So if you're a particular trade, particular profession, you'll be able to punch in those details, and we'll be able to line you up with employers, the ones that we have networked with. So, but I'll leave that with Carl. But yeah, so just to reiterate, it's just a centralized area. We've got the relocation division as well that's on there. So if you have any like concerns with freighting of goods or pets, pet relocation, or pretty much anything to do with the ancillary services that exist outside the immigration process, you can go on, and obviously we've got partners that we can link you up with. But yeah, I just wanted to add that information.
Thank you. So just as Jamal was saying earlier on, unfortunately, the slide didn't get there yet. What Jamal was mentioning about the calendar, just briefly touch on this. When important events or dates, as Jamal mentioned, whether it may be the English test, whether it may be medicals, whatever the case might be, is that you'd be able to put in an important date, set it, as well as set a reminder. That way you've got a reminder a week, a month, 2 days, or a day in advance, or a couple of hours. So everyone's really on the same page as to where we are, what's going on, etc., etc. All right, and then Jamal also mentioned briefly on country information. So with your consultants, with each and every one of your consultants, we would have spoken about the process, immigration, the steps that we would take, the services and the costs that are involved throughout this process. But there are other things such as political matters, religion, when it comes to driver's license, as Jamal mentioned, what side of the road you drive on, you know, things that are completely outside of the immigration sphere, but important conversations to get into anyway. we've uploaded and you're able to download PDF documents related to the country that you are immigrating to, right? These country packs or info packs have been designed for individuals that are immigrating to these respective countries. So it's a very informative space to be in. You're able to download the document for free. We don't charge for that. You're simply able to log on to your portal, download the document, and it will give you a lot of insight on the country that you are going to, as mentioned. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, another important aspect of the immigration process, of course, would be the English language test. I'd like to bring up and introduce Meghan, who happens to be our resident IELTS tutor. Meghan, thanks again for joining us this evening.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, guys, as NWI. I think it's very important to note that not only am I the resident IELTS tutor for NWI, but I was first a client. Last week I mentioned that I was a client, but I didn't go into detail to say that I was first a client, and I would then rather just stick with NWI after that. Okay. So yes, guys, I am Meghan Lupton. I have a bachelor's degree in communication science, but I am also a certified IELTS coach. Again, like I said, I was a client first, and I honestly wouldn't recommend any other kind of agency. I wouldn't trust any other agency with my immigration process. So yes, I am on the immigration process. I am looking to immigrate to Canada, and NWI has only made that journey a lot easier for me. They have answered any questions you would have, and I continue to keep into contact with them on the client side of everything. So what is IELTS and why do we need to do it? So IELTS, we don't really know what it is until we actually need to immigrate. And why do we need to do it? We basically need to prove to these governments that we can cope within an English-speaking country. Because we are coming from countries where English is not the first official language, okay? And because of that, they need to see where are we in terms of our English, can we cope, whether it's going to the doctor, whether it's working, whether it's going to the supermarket in their countries, will we cope, okay? There are many reasons why people do the IELTS coaching or the IELTS tests rather. Firstly, immigration. Yes, to go study abroad, to work abroad, but you can also put it on your CV. And companies abroad, they're always looking for people, and they're always eager to hire people who are IELTS proficient. So let's talk a little bit about what is IELTS. It's the International English Language Testing System. It's the world's most popular English test, and it is the most preferred. It is designed to assess your level of English skills. So that means that only being able to speak English is not going to get you your IELTS minimums. We've got a lot of clients saying, well, I can speak English, what is there to it? A lot of the time I have to say, whoa, it's about the English skill, not only about being able to speak the language. Okay, there are two types of IELTS test. There's an academic. A lot of the time, people going to Australia would do an academic one, depending on the actual applicant and the job that they are looking at. But then if you're going to Canada, there is the general, okay? Literally, the difference, the general tests your proficiency, the academic tests your analysis skills. So what do I do as the IELTS coach? I have to make sure that you are adequately prepared for your English exams. Like I said, it's the whole skill set. So we have to make sure you're prepared for each section. This is done in 3 to 4 separate online sessions where we focus on each part of the exam. So how many parts of the exam are there? There's listening, there's reading, there's writing, and there's speaking. So we focus our energy on all 4 parts of the exam in order to make sure that you are adequately prepared. Like I said, it's done in 3 to 4 separate sessions. And also, I do give you some tips and tricks, major rules that you need to follow, and also just a little breakdown about the actual IELTS exam. I give you my material, all my slides are narrated. So you have to listen to me even if you're not online with me. And also, just to familiarize yourself with the IELTS exam, I do give you and I refer you to websites where they can actually take you through practice, take you through what is the IELTS exam, and also just have that added extra knowledge on the exam. The bonus is that my services are available to the main applicant at no extra cost. And then in closing, guys, I'd like to say that taking these tests will not only aid you in immigration, like I said, even on your CV, if you pass these tests well, you can put it on your CV, and your people or your companies abroad are definitely eager to hire people that is IELTS proficient. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Megan. And I definitely think that a lot of the families are looking forward to making use of your service throughout the process. It's great to have you part of the team.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so a couple of other aspects with regards to conversations surrounding the immigration process, occupations in demand, why is my profession in high demand? And I'd just like to briefly touch on that, just so everyone really has clarity on why Canada or Australia is looking for you or needs you as a professional. So over the last 10, 20, 30 years, these economies have grown to such a degree where, unfortunately, their population itself has not been rapidly growing as to where it should have been. And with that, locals are now not qualifying fast enough to actually tend to the amount of opportunities that have become available, vacant positions. In the second to third quarter of 2021, Canada had released a statement that there were over 750,000 vacant jobs. Australia, due to COVID, the only real way, and this is directly from their government, stating that the only way in which they're going to be able to really build towards a better future would be through foreign skilled professionals. And they're looking to bring in over 1 million skilled migrants over the next 3 years. So this is where each and every one of you come in. You're bringing a value, you're adding value to the country that you are immigrating to. There's a demand for what you do on that end. So there's a lot of synergy that's been created between the two of you, the family going over and the country that's going to be benefiting from your skills and expertise. So just some interesting information here. And of course, we haven't covered every single industry or every single occupation, but it just gives you more of an idea as to the occupation in demand for skilled migrants with regards to Canada as well as Australia. As you'll see, the engineering and construction field is massive, from legal to trade, finance, healthcare, as well as IT. Carl, of course, will perhaps touch on this a little bit later on, but there's a massive demand for a lot of these individuals or professions and vacant jobs that really need to be filled as soon as possible. So here's some interesting information. And again, this is only touching on a number of different professions. Unfortunately, we couldn't fit absolutely every single industry in here. But this really just gives us an idea of average salaries in rands when it comes to the difference between earning a salary in Canada and South Africa. So if you're in the engineering space, we've taken a look at the engineering sector as a whole. And if you look at the difference, I mean, it's nearly double the amount, right? In fact, it's just over double, where the average engineer in Canada is earning just over 1.2 million rand per annum. In South Africa, it's just shy, of 600,000 rand. And that is the same with regards to healthcare professionals, legal professionals, IT, healthcare, architects, etc., etc. And by the way, as Jamal mentioned earlier on, when you log onto your portal, you'll be able to go to PayScale. So we partnered with a global leader called PayScale, and it allows you to really monitor what your average salary expectation would be for your profession in the country you're looking at. So you'll be able to grasp a lot of personal information from the portal and PayScale. If we take a look at the average salaries now, Australia versus South Africa, and of course from registered nurses all the way to your artisans, from fitters, machinists, as well as plumbers. You'll notice from construction project managers to secondary phase teachers, we bring on a lot of teachers on a month-to-month basis because of the demand for secondary phase teachers. If I'm not mistaken, the figure was 8,750, roughly around about that amount of secondary phase teachers that Australia is actually looking to bring in over the next 2 years. So when you're taking a look at a demand like that, and unfortunately, there's not as much of a supply of teachers coming into Australia, salary compensation has gone through the roof for secondary phase teachers. So this concept always works on a supply and demand basis, right? There's a demand, unfortunately, the supply is not being met. So therefore, salary compensation is in your favor, which is ideal for anyone looking at immigrating within either of these professions. So as we are leading towards sort of the mid part of tonight's event, I'd like to introduce everyone to Kyle, our recruitment division manager, who happens to have been developing this part of the portal with Carlos, our IT managers in the UK, as well as Robbie Raglers. Kyle, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening and joining us.
Thanks for that introduction, Sean. And yeah, thank you to everyone for being here tonight. It's really appreciated. It's always nice having a crowd out. So yeah, but Sean, to go back on what you mentioned with regard to the demand on some of on a few of the occupations that were listed there. So recruiters are actually starting to come to us and they're saying, look, do you guys have this? Because I mean, we have been, the recruitment division have been pretty much like, how do I say, we've been saying to recruiters, look, we have these candidates. So over the
early stages.
Sorry about that, Sean.
It's been in the early stages.
Yeah. So I mean, as I mentioned, so a lot of the recruiters are now approaching us and they're saying, look, do you guys have these candidates? We're urgently looking for them. So just as you also mentioned with regards to the teachers, we're getting extremely close to closing a deal with the teacher recruiters. So I mean, that's going to be extremely huge for majority of our applicants on board with us. But yeah, anyways, I will carry on with the recruitment division. So yeah, so the recruitment division was created with the purpose of assisting applicants of New World immigration. So this recruitment division is a value-added service to every candidate or applicant that is on board with us. So as I mentioned, we connect with employers and recruiters abroad, and they either ask us, look, do you have these candidates, or we approach them based on job listings that they have listed. Okay, so yeah, as Robbie also mentioned, we have been working extremely hard on our recruitment portal, which it's coming along extremely great. And I think we're actually going to be going live with it within the next week or two. So, I mean, I'm sure all of you are excited about that. So I'll give you a basic rundown of how it will look for you guys on the portal. So you will basically be able to either search your occupation on the left-hand side, and you can also search the country in which you are hoping to go to. So basically, when you click on the occupations that are listed, it will prompt you to this application form where you are to put in all your details, which is actually great because it will pull directly from your client portal, which you would already be registered on. So you'll most likely just have to fill in your age and whether you've done your skills assessment and IELTS. And on the skills assessment and IELTS, those two are extremely important because a lot of the recruiters, they're looking for international candidates, but they need to ensure that these candidates that they are looking for are on par, or their qualifications and skills are on par with that of theirs. So that's why it's extremely important to do both the skills assessment and the IELTS test. So then you'll basically click apply on that job, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, and like I said, it's coming soon within the next week or two. So stay tuned for that. And also, like I mentioned, all all our occupations, all our candidates are always being exposed to recruiters abroad. So we've created a huge network of recruiters and employers who are interested in recruiting internationally. So, I mean, we are always exposing all our candidates.
And we do this through a number of different platforms, mainly LinkedIn. We find LinkedIn probably one of the most effective platforms out there from, gaining exposure as an immigration firm, as well as our clients, whether it's from healthcare, accounting, legal, tech, as well as construction, you name it. We're able to really and effectively expose each and every one of our clients as much as we possibly can, and therefore really putting you front and center of recruiters or employers that are looking to bring people in. But bear in mind, as Carl had mentioned, is that this is a value-added service. We don't charge for this particular service, right? Our main goal is to effectively do the paperwork, focus on the paperwork, get your residency in place as a family, whilst all of these particular steps take place throughout the journey of applying for your visa. Right, so I'd like to touch on a couple of aspects with regards to the first phase, right? So first phase, as I'm sure you've heard a number of times from your case manager, as well as Carl, that he had mentioned earlier on. And thanks, Carl, I really appreciate you taking us through that. Looking forward to seeing what and where this particular department goes. I mean, it's inevitable that it's going to be an exciting journey for each and every one of us.
Definitely.
So the importance of phase one. What is phase one, right? So each and every one of you, when looking to immigrate to another country, it is vital that your BTEC, your bachelor's degree in education, your PGCE, your construction project manager that you've completed, a management degree that you completed through UJ, any particular qualification that you've completed outside of the country that you're looking to go to, that qualification needs to go through a particular phase of getting it recognized and on par with either Canadian or Australian standards. One of the major reasons as to why that's vital is that if an employer or a recruiter is looking to employ you, they need to make sure that when they're screening you as a possible applicant, you are on par with Canadian or Australian qualification framework, as Carl had mentioned. It makes it easier for them to screen you. It makes it easier for them to employ you. It shows commitment from your end that you're serious about this process. And it's a requirement that you need anyway when you're applying for permanent residency, right? So it's inevitable that you will need it for the sake of your visa, but it's also going to add a lot of value to your profile and your CV when our in-house recruitment division starts exposing your profile to either Canada or Australia. Now, of course, each and every one of you have been in contact with your respective consultants, Amy, Jamal, Leo, Mark, Matthew, Robbie, as well as myself. Guys, we have all set out anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes after this webinar and tonight's event to activate your phase one. So I would highly recommend that before getting into bed or doing anything else, I would recommend getting in contact with your consultant. Let's start looking at phasing one this evening. Those of you that are ready to get the ball rolling, I'd recommend it. Why I would recommend it? Every single year, we see a massive bubble of applicants globally that are starting this process. And I don't know what it might be, but I think it's like a New Year's resolution, right? Everyone has this idea that I'd like to lose weight. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to start, my dirty habits of eating, etc., etc. Let's start an immigration journey. I can guarantee you most people that are looking at immigrating start this process in the beginning of the year and it becomes chaotic. Being in the immigration industry for as long as what I've been, I've seen it countless of times, and our recommendation to avoid problems, to avoid frustration, start the process before the head of the pack, right? And be ahead of the pack. So start the skills assessment, and it will allow us to at least start 2022 by getting you into the job market. The sooner we're able to do that, the better it is for not only for yourself, you're doing yourself a favor, you're doing an employer a favor on that end, and you're just making the process a lot easier for us as well. So please get in contact with us. Let's arrange a suitable time within the next half an hour to 45 minutes. Your consultant will run you through the step-by-step process as to how you're able to action your skill assessment. Once we've captured your documents as well as received your payment, we'll then send you a receipt of payment, and a welcome email will be sent to each and every one of you to establish a point of contact with your case manager, and we'll then start collecting the relevant documents that we need for the skill assessment. Is there anyone else that would like to share final notes before we end this event and start bringing candidates on board for their skills assessments?
Sean, we've got a special guest that's just joined us. We've got Andrea from Toronto. Carlos, if you can maybe unmute Andrea, that'd be awesome. Oh, you unmuted yourself. But how's it going, Andrea?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Awesome. It's such a surprise to see you. Awesome.
It's really great. I thought I would quickly pop in on the call and just to let you know that it is so beautiful here in Canada today. I live in Oakville, and it's fall and all the leaves are coming down, and I'm actually drinking a nice cup of hot coffee, and it's actually 11 degrees outside, which is super warm, and there's no rain, but it looks like we might get some snow next week. I'm so excited, and 4.5 years down the line, I still peek out of my window at maybe 1 or 2 in the morning just to see if there's any snow. It's just so exciting. So I'm looking forward to winter. Yeah.
Nice. Andrea, so we've got like a lot of prospective clients that are about to start their immigration journey. Give us your 2 cents on what that journey's like. Is it necessary to feel like it's a daunting prospect? What was it like for you, and in relation to what you have now in terms of your life right now?
Sure. I think hell yes, it's daunting, and I think that I'm a bit of an idealist, so I don't actually deal with any of the issues or get uptight until a year later when I'm in my new country, and then I'm like, oh my word, what have we done? Like, I miss everybody. I'm very positive. I push forward. But for the majority of people, it's the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life, because you know what you're going through, the emotions that you're all feeling at the moment, and especially financially. I think that for a lot of the age category, I don't know you guys that are on the call, but I know statistically and from my Google Analytics, I know the people that are generally moving have the ability to move because they either have the capital or they have the qualifications. So generally, it's in the range of people that are under 45, between 35, 45, maybe even 50. And so you're kind of thinking to yourself, I'm going to move to this country, and what am I going to do about my retirement? Because your money is so worthless by the time you get to Canada. So that's a big concern for husbands, for wives, and there's a lot of tension around that. Sometimes people move to Canada and they come in, they've got no jobs. And I've met many people that do that. I've met one of our very good friends is a director of a company in Johannesburg, moved here, and he started selling spa tubs, saunas. And he got fired because he was so drunk at the job because he was telling people what to do. So it's just, we've all got we come over with these South Africanisms. That's what I like to say. And our South Africanisms are the things of how we did things or how we do things in South Africa. South Africans are amazing. We've got this, I always say this, like, energy and it's chutzpah that you don't find in any other country. It's not just Canada. And that thing that you have inside of you, that drive and that ambition, is very welcomed here in Canada. And if I can encourage you guys, when you come over, the South Africans work really hard here and they're really well looked after for that. But I think that, so in terms of daunting, yes, you're going to come over, but you will find a job. You will find work, because there's anything, whether you're selling hot tubs or saunas, to working at Starbucks, to having your amazing IT job, whatever it is, there's always something available for you. I think one of the coolest things, or the best things for us, is we also used an immigration agency. And a lot of the time it takes a lot of anxiety and the stress away. Sure, you can do this whole process by yourself. And let me tell you, if you make 1 or 2 mistakes, all that paperwork comes back, and it's an absolute nightmare, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So people ask me, Andrea, what do you suggest? I say, yes, use an immigration agency and ask all the questions. I know Robbie doesn't mind, but I've got a YouTube channel. So I really just talk about all the emotional stuff. I'm not an immigration attorney or a lawyer. I don't give advice on whether it's EE or federal skilled programs or all that stuff. I'm really here to tell you about, hey, this is what it's really like. Emotionally, it's very challenging. You're going to go through some really tough times. And I think my one tip that I'm going to give you is you need to be strong on your why. Why are you immigrating? Because if that is true to you, when you're here and it's Christmas time and you've got no family, very tough. And the 4 of you or the 2 of you are sitting, open your little presents together. It can get a little bit tough. It can be depressing. The weather, it's great, but winter does go on for a little bit long. And also it can make you feel a little bit down if you're not taking your vitamin D every day. So there are certain times where you are going to be challenged. And if your why is strong enough, you can always go back to that and say, yeah, I remember why. This is why we did it. If it's for your kids, if it's for safety, if it's for whatever reason, a better future, a better job, you need to stick to that. And then my second tip would be to persevere. Persevere with New World Immigration. They're the best at this. You're going to have to fuss back. The worst part about all of this is being in limbo. I think it's terrible, especially with COVID. It's even worse, is when you're kind of sitting and you're waiting for the paperwork. You don't know when you should resign, what is going to happen next, when are you going to tell your family? Should you tell your family? Don't, by the way. Don't ever tell them, just leave. No, I'm kidding. It's very tough. Those things are going to be super difficult for you to deal with. And so the emotional challenges are tough. So remember your why and use the immigration agency, tap into all the seminars and all the webinars and ask all the questions.
And your life,
Robbie,
and after you settled your life now, like we had
My
a chat
now.
We had a chat the other day, and you were telling me about your child getting the post from a university bursary, and it's like, and you were talking about like Canada wanting you to succeed, and very different to South Africa.
Very, very, very. So I have my one daughter is in grade 12, so her final year at school. She's applying now to university, and then my eldest daughter's in second year at university at Brock. And I remember when we applied for her, we couldn't believe it. You get the special government number. And then once you have that, you can apply for universities. And the way you apply is you pump this number into your computer. And basically, it literally populates all your information, all your marks, where you live, everything about you or the student. And then you have to apply to 3 universities, not just 1, not 2, 3. So number 1 being your top choice university. And at this point, you would have then done a lot of research in determining what you want to study and which university is best for that course. Anyway, my daughter applies for this one university, which is Brock. It was her first choice. They have the best program in what she wants to study, which is sports business. It's a 4-year degree. And she gets accepted at the other 2, and they're also amazing. And this child of mine, she's not a massive academic. And let me tell you, it was amazing. I remember her running to the post box, which is up the road. Yes, we still have post boxes here. It's very quaint. So she goes to the post box, gets this letter. It's a big A4 envelope. And in red, it says, Brock University, we want you. And she's running to the front door. Like, could this be her application? And as she tears the envelope open and opens the brochure, all this glitter falls out of this application. It says, you have been accepted at Brock. Well, I'm in tears. And just the way they do stuff here, it's a business. Universities want you to come to their university. And I find that is such a different approach to what you're used to right now. So with that, she got a $4,000 bursary, or they call it, it's like a scholarship, really, just based on her school marks because they were good. But what that does is if she maintains a certain percentage every single year in the 4 years of her degree, they will continue to give her that bursary. And this was only one of the universities. The other two she got accepted at, and they offered different kind of things. You've really got to read all the material because there's so much on offer. Really, just what I wanted to share with you is just how exciting it is to be in a country where universities operate like a business. They are fully fledged in terms of everything. If I talk about diversity, it's here. If I talk about money, they have it. If there is stuff that is required, the equipment, the lecture halls, we've been to so many universities on tour. It's amazing. Now, my second daughter wants to apply to university in a very different territory. She wants to go to UBC, and we live in Oakville. And my first thought is, oh, my baby, I don't want her to go. But, we came here as one of our wives was for our children. And I'm checkboxing all those things. Georgia is so happy at Brock. She's connecting with all the right people. She has so many volunteer opportunities to work and gain experience and network with people. All I can say is there are so many opportunities and you have to grab them with both hands. And so I get very excited about taking those check boxes of reasons to come to Canada or reasons to immigrate. We are checking those. And Kevin and I are sitting at home. Our second daughter's going to leave home in September, and we're going to be rattling around here. So then what's next for us? Because I turned 46 yesterday. And so at 46, what are we going to do? And, we were talking about maybe we should live in Costa Rica for every 2 weeks, work there. Kevin can surf because he loves surfing. He misses it so much. And then maybe for the rest of the month or whatever, we can work in Oakville, buy a condo. Stuff becomes, I know it sounds very out there for you guys, but once you start to live here and you experience the Caribbean, which is so cheap to go to, or there are just so many options. We live virtually. There's Wi-Fi everywhere, all over the place. You can work anywhere. Do you get surprised like day to day, like with various things that you do as you meander through each day? Yeah,
with regards
totally.
to the first worldness of a country like Canada, and how does it relate to like what one would experience in South Africa? How's it different?
I think just a basic thing like walking your dog. Oh, sure, but did I say the word? You better not come here. But if you, I take my dog out and I'm alone in the trail. The trail is right at our house. Like I'm looking out on the trail right now, and there are people walking their dogs. And like 800 meters from our house, I posted on Facebook the other day, I saw a reindeer. We live in suburbia. Do you know, it actually is very an unusual sighting, but you will not, it's like we live in a place where there's number one, different animals, and I'm safe. I'm walking alone with my dog. Sometimes I don't see people for miles, and then sometimes I do. And even if I do, people got their AirPods in and they're walking and they're talking on their phones. All their tech is exposed.
So you never feel unsafe?
It's super safe. Never, ever, ever. And there are times where sometimes I think, sure, it's like my kids. When Maddie and Georgia, when they were about 3 years ago, it's pouring with rain and it's dark. And generally the trails are closed at dusk. Also for the animals and the wildlife, not because weird stuff goes on in the trails. It's just that they can recuperate, and the squirrels come out and the coyotes, and it's like crazy. And they're on their bicycles. It reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? Did anybody see the Goonies ever? These kids are on their bicycles. There are about 6 or 8 of them. And they're riding through the trails because they've been in the park. And now it's dark. It's like 10 o'clock at night. They've been at Starbucks and they went to Tim's and got their wraps and chicken wraps and whatever. Now they're riding home. It's pouring with rain. Madison comes through the back gate. She's like, Mom, it's pouring with rain. I said, what are you doing? And her knees are bleeding. She's like, no, we're having such a great time. I fell off my bike and my knee's bleeding. And I looked at her, and in that moment, I just thought, this is so cool. This is like being in the 70s in South Africa. These kids are like 15 and 16 on their bicycles with all their mates. They are in the rain. They're on their own, and it's okay. They've got blood on their knees, building character, gaining experience. I don't know if that resonates with you, but I know when we left South Africa, do you know that my youngest daughter left South Africa without learning how to ride a bicycle? And she was 12 when we got here. had no idea, and her friends all taught her how to ride a bike. So that is the big difference. For me, Robbie, maybe you can identify your kids don't go outside. Who's got time to teach your kids how to ride a bike? And everybody else in the street is going to ride your kid over. Like, I'm too nervous. The people are so aggressive on the road. Here, pedestrians are number one. Number one. If you stop at a stoplight and you wait, you have to wait for pedestrians. The children here and a lot of the adults, they do not even look left or right when they cross the road. They're not trained to do so because the cars stop for you. They stop for everybody. You cannot believe it. Awesome.
Awesome. It's so nice to get like an insider's view as to what it's like living abroad and, you know, not in South Africa. And also, like, we don't like to profess that immigration is this dream that, you know, you go live in this, you know, this whatever. There are real emotional elements to it, and we want to address those. We want to, you know, take it seriously, but we also want to talk about the amazing things. And what you said is the why. Like, why are we doing this? We're doing this for our kids. We're doing this for safety and security, economic prosperity. We want to be able to go to a place where companies are scrambling for you, fighting for you, and not necessarily the other way around, where you go for an interview
Absolutely.
and you know, and you don't get the job, and it's like there's more people than available opportunities. And it's just nice getting your insight. So thanks so much for, and it's completely ad hoc. I just messaged you and I said, I'm going to hop on. So I hope you start, guys. I hope you don't mind. It's a very non-traditional webinar.
It's awesome. It was great to connect with you guys. And yeah, if people want to connect more with what I do and talk about, they can do that. But I appreciate your time. I've got to get off and do some more work over here. Have a good one and keep moving forward. Don't give up. Don't give up. And when you're in Oakville, come and grab coffee with me anytime.
Thanks, Andrea. Sean, you can grab
Andrea. Thanks so much.
Sorry.
Really appreciate you joining us. Take care. Chat soon.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye. Guys, again, I'd like to end this evening off and thank you so much for taking the time out of your evenings, give you the opportunity to quickly chat to your consultants and getting started with your phase one. Of course, as Andrea is excited, we are all as excited to move ahead and put these things into practice and put it moving forward. So I look forward to speaking to each and every one of you after this webinar. So I'm going to end things off. I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to get going. And have yourselves a phenomenal evening. Robbie, if there's a final note that you have, please feel free.
No, I just wanted to say a shout out. Sorry, Matt couldn't join tonight. And I know that he was speaking to Shona. I think the name was Shona. I don't know why. I think it was that. But anyway, he just says hi. And sorry he couldn't make it. But yeah, thanks, Sean. Thank you. You were great tonight. And thanks for hosting it. Yeah.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourselves a wonderful evening, and we look forward to moving ahead this evening as well as tomorrow morning. Have a good day.